Welcome to another conversation with Convesio. My name is Lee, and today we have on the show the one and only. It's Eric Ryan. He is the Director of Sales and Partnership at Convesio. Dude, how are you doing?
I'm doing greatly. Thanks so much for having me on the program. I'm pretty excited to share some of the stuff that's going on over at Convesio.
Well, I'm very excited because you and me, we're kind of a kindred spirit. We both like hats, we both like
Love
beards, and I truly appreciate that. And we've certainly bonded over a course of time. And it's actually that we're going to talk about, not hats, but actually your time before Convesio and what drew you to Convesio. So before we go into any of those questions, could you give us a little bit of a potted history of Eric Ryan?
I can definitely do that. And because the tenures at the jobs were long and vast, then we can talk about most of them. So I had about 12 years working for the corporate giant Dell. I was selling
Mhm.
software and peripherals for about 12 years. I was a coach over there for their small, medium business mid-market team and got to deal with a lot of you know, really showcasing the value prop and teaching it to our employees. So that was a great place to cut my teeth into sales culture in the cubicle world and just see the camaraderie that can be driven by teams, which is really important to me with that team culture.
Yeah.
But from there, I went on to Media Temple, who some of our viewers may know, a great hosting company that focused on agencies. So that's near and dear to my heart. I love working with creative agencies and specialty agencies. So that was a great fit to dive into the web hosting world. We were also owned by GoDaddy, so I did some time with some overlap work with the tier four customer success team for our managed AWS clients with mission critical sites, as well as took on some GoDaddy payments duties running their account management team. So a whole breadth of information. And what ultimately landed me over at Convesio was so attractive was that culture fit. I'm seeing a lot of great talent, but also the culture in helping customers is the forward motion here. It's very proactive and it seems really differentiated, and I'm really enjoying the experience thus far.
That's awesome, man. And you've mentioned a few of, for me, one of those classic hosts that I got started with in the
Sure,
very early days of my web development career, which was Media Temple. So
that's
I've
awesome.
very precious memories of them. And I hadn't actually realized they'd gotten bought out by GoDaddy at any point. I mean, it's a long time since I used them. But
Sure.
for us back in the day, it was kind of the concept of I can't remember if they called it a grid or a network or something like that,
Yeah,
but
we
for
had
us it
that's
was
the
all new.
first. Yeah, that
Yeah,
public web, the
we
grid.
we were
Yeah,
so used to, like, hosting on a box. Like, I had a box in the '90s, I literally had a PC in my,
your
bedroom I
closet.
was hosting
Yeah,
websites on a 56K modem with free internet that would always crap out, so, yeah. And then obviously in the early noughties, we had Media Temple, etcetera, which was phenomenal. So
yeah,
could you kind of tell us the journey of how you were made aware of Convesio? And you mentioned kind of the culture fit, etc. Um, how did you discover that? Was just kind of unpack that a little bit further.
so my WordPress network is pretty strong, and I first heard about Convesio from Zach Stebic, who's big in the WordCamp community on the WooCommerce side. Uh, and Zach approached me, and I had a meeting with Tom, and I was like, oh wow, this is exactly the vibe and the
Mm,
not only the culture but the customer experience, because I've done stints in account management in customer success. So the post sale side of the house is super important to me. And then if
mm,
you're dealing with mission critical sites, you can't be dealing with, long SLAs. You can't be dealing with unclear actions like what's the customer's responsibility or what's the agency's responsibility. You really got to know what falls into the hosting company's domain, not to
mm.
use a terrible pun, but we're able to do a lot of stuff over here that goes above and beyond your traditional host. And I love that we specialize in these mission critical sites.
That's awesome, and I really appreciated the pun, by the way, whether or not it
It
was
was a
on
pretty
purpose.
good. It'll probably come up a few times.
I'm sure it will. Uh, and that's an interesting point you made about responsibility. I've had so many times where there's been something wrong with a website, and I don't know what to do. The host that I would have used in the past would kind of push back to me. The developer would push back to the host of the relevant plugin that I was either purchasing or using that was open source. My own development team would struggle not knowing what to do, etc. So I in-house didn't have the skills and technical resources either. So I often felt on my own as an agency owner with a team, with clients who were kind of screaming at me. Can you share how Convesio has fixed some of those issues or those sorts of situations, how Convesio would handle that?
Yeah, this is an easy point of differentiation because, like you just described, you get an issue with your site and you talk to the hosting company. They say contact your agency or do it yourself, and vice versa. They say it's the hosting company's issue. At Convesio, like that's not our trigger response. That seems to be a trigger response at other places I've seen. But this at Convesio, we dig in and we'll actually find the cause of the issue. We don't care. We do care if it's our infrastructure, obviously, but 99% of the time it's something in the app. It's something with a plugin. It's something that we can lead you either a breadcrumb trail or do for you. And that's really the main difference, is just giving that clarity and being timely about it. And then putting, I guess, an instruction book on how to fix it or offer for a more quick experience, us doing it for you. And we can even relay over to the agency, what type of work needs to be done. We're flexible in all capacities there.
Yeah, and that's something that I've never seen. I think somebody mentioned the word white glove the other day to me. It's kind of
Oh,
almost
yeah.
like Convesio is a white glove experience. They're going to get heavily involved with you. They're not going to say, hey, where did you buy the plugin from? Just to call them. It's obviously a problem with their stuff. You guys are actually going to take a look, see what it is. The breadcrumb trail is very, very helpful because I've had conversations with the support team where they've said, hey, we've looked at the logs. We can see there's this particular error, which relates to that particular plugin. And it looks like they're using a depreciated function. I'm like, oh, brilliant. I've not
Right.
updated that plugin, whatever it is, just something as simple as that. Because very often, have you ever heard of refrigerator blindness, where you look in the fridge and you're like, who moved the yogurts or who ate the last
Yeah,
yogurt?
yeah.
And someone's like, everyone else in the house right in front of you, and then there it is.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff you just can't see the wood for the trees, I think is a better analogy.
Exactly.
And yeah, just having your guys take a look and say, hey, here's something that might help, or hey, we can fix this. Here's a snippet of code as well, which again, it just feels like something that's really above and beyond the sort of customer service that I've never had before. Obviously, we're
Right.
biased. We're on Convesio channel, folks, but this is as an agency owner myself, with hundreds of websites out there in the world. It's very, very helpful to have a support team like this. So, what's for you something that's stood out about Convesio's customer service?
This one's easy as well because I've never seen anything like this. So we do all our support through Slack. So I'm used to a world of tickets in a queue and having to chase people down to get latest updates, since I've been historically on the sales side of the house or the management side for sales. Here it's all in Slack, and the SLA is ridiculous. We'll acknowledge a request usually within a minute, and then we'll outline the steps we're going to take. And you have your own private Slack channel, so it's not reserved for just the highest spending customers. We treat everybody with the same level of service, and we know that these are, again, to say, mission critical sites, and you can't afford that downtime or any type of issues with your application. And if we can cut that time to fix, whether it's the application or in some cases maybe the infrastructure or just some sort of optimization or making a recommendation on the version of PHP, like we proactively do that, and we can do it through Slack quicker than you can set up a meeting.
Now, I'm thinking of other support companies and myself. I'm CompTIA Network Plus certified many, many years ago when Windows 2000 Server was king.
Right.
I was behind the support desk, and the idea of people getting direct access to me and my team was terrifying
It is
because
true.
we felt we were always so busy. We're busy. We're fixing things, etc. You need to put it through the support desk. We'll get back to you within 24 hours. You'll have a ticket. Someone will triage it and put a specific, this is more urgent than the other, and we will get back to you within this very,
And
very
you're lucky
detailed
if
and
you didn't have
complex.
to follow up in the
Yeah,
through that whole process. You probably sent 2 or 3 follow-ups. So yeah,
Well, I'd have
it's
a cold sweat as well. Oh, yeah, I'd get chasers as well. So I'd probably have several chasers on a ticket, etc. But I kind of
right.
felt protected by the ticket system. I thought, well, people can't get fast access to me. I'm going to struggle to manage everything if people are on the phone to me or flooding my emails. So how
Yeah.
does Convesio cope with that? Because I can feel the sweats.
Yeah, so
Tell me.
honestly, it's having a distributed team that can
Yeah.
cover all the different areas of specialty. So if something comes into our system, and let's say it's a current customer, but they have a request about their current stack or launching a new website, that might go over to the specialist in sales.
Mhm.
If there's something that's a technical issue, we quickly bucket that into different service levels, and we're able to act accordingly and engage the right folks. And we keep you in the loop in the entire process, as I'm sure you've noticed. So you're not wondering, a lot of hosting companies won't tell you, like, we discovered this. They tell you when it's fixed. And by
Yeah.
then you're like, why aren't you proactive? Why didn't you tell me about this beforehand? Were you hoping I didn't notice? And the trust levels start to
Yeah.
deteriorate once you start doing that kind of stuff, even if the end result is a fix. Uh, Convesio likes to, and it's our standard operating procedure to let you know even before you know. Because what's the
Mm.
point of having support if it's just reactive?
Well, that's two things that I love. So you've got the proactive, you guys are spotting potential issues coming up, but there's also the updates whilst you're fixing something. Because there's nothing worse for me. We're an agency owner. We don't have the infrastructure to have our own servers. We don't have the expertise. So we're leaning on companies like Convesio as our extended support team. So we
Exactly.
would consider Convesio our extended team. So when you submit a ticket to a hosting company and then you're waiting 4 hours for a response, but your client is screaming at you because your site's down and that you're hosting
Oh
for
yeah,
them
we never
through a
want
third
someone to be
party.
the middleman.
Oh,
Is That's the
it's
worst place
awful.
to be as an agency, especially with
Yeah.
things like billing problems, with not being able to hit certain pages on your site, and it's your
Mm.
fault as the agency. And
Yep.
then they'll just the hosting company takes some debris as well in the hate. But
Sure.
yeah, the whole experience is meant to just be transparent as possible and forthcoming with information. We'll do stuff
Yeah.
that goes beyond support. If we see recommendations, we're just going to offer them because it's going
Mhm.
to make your site faster and you're going to make more revenue if it's e-com or more visitors, if it's a mission critical page. So we just want that best experience, and you can capture the most conversions. That's really our
Okay.
end goal.
No, I love it. And one of the good examples as well is I've seen Tom, one of the founders as well, gets heavily involved because he is one of
Well, you don't see that in many
experts.
places
Oh,
where, yeah,
yeah.
and you can see the passion oozing from Tom and his differentiated stack and service levels. So that's that's the core mentality here is take care of customers.
Yeah. Um, I'm a bit of a fanboy of Tom, to be honest. He's a little bit of a genius when it comes to stuff like
Solid dude, yeah, for sure.
that. So, I mean, if you're allowed to tell us, are there any upcoming features that you're particularly excited about in the world of Convesio?
But we are in beta with our V4 platform. That's going to unlock a lot of new features for beyond WordPress, more of a host your app versus just host WordPress. While that is our specialty, I'm not sure if I should be talking about this depending on when this airs, but that should be coming pretty soon. And the beta is available in the client dashboard, I believe, to everyone. So that's something I'm super excited about with just some enhanced features like being able to one-click push from staging. Uh, it, the performance levels are going to be insane, and just the quality of the dashboard experience is everything to the people that are managing their account centers. So
Yep.
without a clean interface with the ability to track who your customers are, what they're doing, and just get built-in analytics. I'll leave it at that. But we're going to have a robust analytics suite within the dashboard, so it's all right there for you to see without having to access third-party tools.
That's one of the bars I set for any hosting companies is what sort of dashboard do they provide me? If it doesn't look well designed, if it's not intuitive, etc. Even if people tell me they're the best host in the world, I will struggle to believe that because I put a lot of attention to the tools that they give me to utilize so that I can do my job well. I've had some sneak peeks. It looks amazing. I'll make sure I check this episode with the powers that be. I also may be heavily
I
censoring all the
appreciate
words
that.
out of your mouth.
I sincerely appreciate that. But yeah, we're all very
Don't
excited
want to
about
get you into trouble.
it. Can't have
Well,
that.
as we're coming to land, though, we've both shared really. I mean, I was interviewing you and I've kind of hijacked a few of these with my own experiences,
You're good.
but how has Convesio for you changed what you expect from a web host?
It really just opens up the how far are you willing to go. One of the things that I put into one of my sales decks is like where other hosts stop, we keep going, or at least we're going to listen and see if we can take on the work because you're already talking to us, where you're already our trusted partner, or you're a new incoming person with a edge case, and you can't find that solution anywhere.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that we will take on, we'll evaluate, uh, we will do the necessary steps if it's something that requires compliance. We're getting a lot of requests for HIPAA sites on WordPress, and not a lot of hosts do that. We're getting a lot of sites in the highly regulated markets like firearms and CBD cannabis. So those markets are really booming, and we're able to offer a differentiated level of comfort. And I've seen this on really most sales calls because people come through all the other providers that don't allow some of these items, and
Mhm.
you see the relief as either I or Tom or Daryl convey what we do and what we're able to do, whether it's on the HIPAA side through the BAA process, just sharing our knowledge of the process to get people within compliance and to not get those pesky red flags from other hosting companies or even within the open source world. So we make sure that we have a repeatable model and we can deliver success and even introduce people to partners within those spaces.
That definitely answers the question, and it sets a very high bar as well for a hosting company, and something that I certainly appreciate from Convesio. That I think is well worth this conversation because a lot of people really don't realize how far Convesio goes beyond other hosts. And it was great to interview yourself because you've had that background of working with some of the leading hosting providers that have touched many agency owner lives over the last 10, 15 years, etc. So it's phenomenal to see your own journey of what you've experienced, and you still enjoyed Media Temple, etc. But then you've come kind of through to something that's so completely different, and
Yeah,
it's
that
interesting.
the level of just continuous improvement, you're
Mm,
hosting with us, and a lot of the time companies will give you a lot of attention at first, then you go through an onboarding process, and then you're a current customer. And then we'll
yeah,
try to upsell you every few months or raise your prices into an annual contract. We don't have contracts, first of all. We're fair
mm,
on pricing. Uh, and we're more focused on performance over costs, except for cost savings. We're not trying
mhm.
to upsell you unnecessarily. We're looking proactively for ways that over the lifespan of your relationship with us, uh, the site just performance just gets better and better. And then new technologies, new plugins come out. We can help, kind of serve as a guide for, whether or not we think that these are best practice or if it's going to take, affect the site in some negative way performance wise.
Yeah. And as we can come into land, folks, that's definitely one of the big ones for me. Is hosting companies will often say to me, "You need to throw more resources at that," without any of that due diligence. They'll tell me that, "Yeah, you just need more RAM, you need more X, Y, and Z." Whereas my experience with Convesio is they will do their due diligence and get into the code, tell you what can be removed, what can be disabled, what can be changed, so that you don't have to spend any extra money, and the existing package you have is probably fine. There is just a few things that can be tweaked to improve your experience with the site you already have. So again, really, really appreciate that, mate. So we've loved on Convesio all of this time, mate. What's the best way for people to find out more? And then we shall say goodbye.
There's always, because we're all about personalization, I can be contacted directly if anyone wants to talk about moving a site over or just learn about our approach or explore our partner program. I can be reached at Eric, ERIC, REIN as in November, at convesio.com. And I greatly appreciate your time, Lee.
Thank you so much. Have a great day and cheerio.
Take care.